Hello, I thought today I would do an episode of A Fairy Old Witch. I wanted to look at banishing today and protection, really. So I believe that just as with spirits, if you're going to work with the people of the hills, then you need to know how to protect yourself and how to banish them if things go wrong. A little like knowing how to heal means you need to know how to harm, even if you don't use that ability. So iron is probably one of the most famous protections used in banishing or keeping you safe. I found iron within things doesn't seem to have the same effect as just a chunk of iron, and when contained in natural objects in a small amount alongside other components, it certainly doesn't. I know others have had similar experiences. For example, we all have iron in our blood, yet, we still can interact with fair folk. They're not instantly repelled by that iron content that's innate within us. Again, like the iron in soil, they're not repelled by that. I think, well, my it's kind of a little theory of mine that I've been working on anyway. And I think that it might be a similar thing to comparing kind of herbal medicine and pharmaceuticals, where often an entire leaf that might have similar effects to a pharmaceutical. So, for example, willow bark and aspirin. The aspirin is, a single chemical taken and multiplied thousands of times, and that that is metabolized in a very different way and experienced by the body, by the physical self, in a very different way to willow bark, which has several other components working alongside. You know that everything's working in unison in the willow bark, and in the aspirin it's a very intense version of a single, so aiming for a single effect. And yeah, so I think it's perhaps a similar thing with iron content. And if anyone has anything, like any ideas about that or anything, that would be great to know. Because as I say, it's my little theory there. But yes, so I've found iron works well in many cases, as a horseshoe hung over a doorway, or large nails placed in a chimney, placed in a witch's ladder, or made into a charm. If you're good at metalwork, you could actually make full-on proper, charms, but otherwise there are lots and lots of different ways. I have seen pins and nails in this case, bound together and kind of linked together at the top, so they kind of came round in a circle as a charm. I have found that asking a tree or a plant to act as an intermediary has helped in the past for longer term arrangements and solutions to problems. So if you're having issues perhaps within your home or garden with the fair folk, or on your land, then you might perhaps ask the rowan tree in the garden to help, or perhaps if you're having issues at a sacred place for you in the countryside, the oak tree there could be asked if it could aid with protection, and so on. And often, if you are having problems, I have found personally that they're more likely to have respect for the trees who have been around for so much longer than we have and related to them for so much longer. As an immediate solution, loud unpleasant noise can be a quick way to get them to leave. So you can grab your pots and pans and start banging them, or start causing a ruckus by screaming and stomping. And these are both great methods to teach children, as they obviously love a good hullabaloo, so long as they're the ones causing it. If somebody else is causing a hullabaloo, children don't like it. It has to be them. It is often said that the fair folk like to take children, and so if you're working with the fair folk and have children in the house, it is worth teaching them not only the manners and ways of the fair folk, but also the protections and ways to get out of situations if they want to. Obviously, this is all my opinion, but it's my experience and backed up by folkloric evidence, I guess, and oral teaching. On the importance of knowing manners, I think it's important to study in detail the folklore of the fair folk in your area before working with them. So, for me, it's more about English and Celtic folklore, really. But for example, if you are in America, you might want to look at some of the folklore surrounding kind of like little people or good folk over there, because there are stories across cultures of these people, really, or these beings, I should say. So, for example, a large tradition in much of Celtic folklore is that if they interact with you, they will often come for you when they are ready. So they may agree to work with you, but then at the end of your life, they will, according to folklore, often choose the end of your life and take you. Now, it has to be said that a lot of there are many different stories about that, and some people live a very long time, almost, a really, really long time, much longer than expected. And then finally die and are taken, or at least either die or disappear and are taken to go to live with the fair folk. Or sometimes it's a matter of days. So, as they are also said to take children, I'd suggest extra protection around your children and keep this area of protection carefully monitored at all times. The taking of a child is often seen as the famous disappearance, where they are taken and never seen again. Either, they've wandered off and are never seen again, or the fair folk appear to the nurse or mother to take them. However, just as often, which most people forget or don't think about, it's actually characterised by odd dreams or beautiful dreams, and the child developing a fever from which they never recover. A good example of this is found in The Faery's Revenge, which is included in Ancient Legends, Mystic Charms and Superstitions of Ireland by Lady Wilde. It is also a good example of people offending the fair folk by disrespecting their land and not understanding their ways, which is another theme that runs through the Celtic folklore surrounding the fair folk. They often refuse to show, offences happen because people often refuse to show generosity, either to fair folk who are in disguise or visiting straight up. They may refuse to share food items like milk or butter, or perhaps refuse to give aid. They may disrespect the fair folk's land by building on it, perhaps a house, or hunting on it, or taking more than they need. Even at times, it's simply by walking across it. All of these are seen as disrespecting ancient rights that belong to the fair folk and to the land itself. These themes and others are really important pointers when you're working with them, particularly in England, Ireland, Scotland, etc., Wales, and demonstrate how important knowing their ways really is before stepping into working with them. They are the guardians of nature, and I think there are often many lessons in their tests and in the stories themselves. So, on the protection of children, bindweed and ground ivy on children's beds or cots can help protect against them being taken by the fair folk. If you can work with the spirit of the plant rather than just using it as a symbol, then that's even better. I would combine this with horseshoes or iron nails hung over the doors and windows and any other openings, such as chimneys. You could make a charm from mallow picked at noon on a bright day close to the full moon. Timing can be really important for things like this, or perhaps vervain or yarrow picked in the same way. Or you could use iron scissors open hung upon the wall to form a cross, and hang ivy and St. John's wort picked in the same way from them. If you're lucky enough to have a working chimney, then some of your own energy manipulations combined with fire is an effective way of banishing and creating the protective boundaries. Fire is actually a really important preventative against the fair folk's magic. I've certainly found that certain members of the fair folk can't cross a ring of fire, which is really interesting. I have also found creating a spell that you do not want them to interfere with. So either perhaps you're doing one and you know that you often have trouble when you're in that particular spot in the country, or perhaps you are trying to banish them and you don't want them to interfere with that spell, or protect yourself against them, you know. So creating a spell involving a fire can be a really good way of stopping them from fiddling with that magic. So perhaps, you know, throwing herbs into a fire would be the one that comes to my head straight away, you know. If you have found they are linked to something physical, perhaps you move into a house and you find that they're linked to your curtains or to bedclothes, or I don't know, if sometimes like there might be chimney dressings and things like that, then you can burn those physical items to rid yourself of the connection, essentially. There are lots and lots of stories that include the burning of something connected to the fair folk, and often include nails, pins and the fire's ashes put on a doorway or window. So again, that's looking at you know, the openings and the boundaries, entrances and exits and where they can get in. So I think Etna Bride would be one of those. Some people pronounce it Ethna, the bride. So contacting the household spirit or brownie can be really worthwhile, particularly if you already work with them, as they can add in their own boundaries to the room and prevent thresholds being crossed. If you're aware of spirits who particularly protect your children, or you work with ancestors who could keep them safe, these could also be brought in to help. Burning salt with various symbols drawn into it has also been useful. Traditionally, these symbols often included a cross. However, if you work with runes or other symbols, then these can be just as powerful, and you can just alter it to your own personal strengths, like everything. I think it's so brilliant when I see people just taking inspiration from old traditional methods, but, you know, really putting their mark on it without losing the original meaning. I love seeing that. There are certain other herbs and salves that can help as well, salves that can help you see them if you struggle to, but it would take a really long time to go into those, and many contain plants that should only be used by those who are trained to use them. So I think that's probably the easiest, most straightforward protections I can think of for now. I definitely add my own energetic protections to those, and I also involve the spirits I work with. So you might involve, you know, your ancestors or other guides, anything like any, you know, spirit like that, really. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. many blessings, and I will see you very soon for maybe a pagan alphabet one. Definitely see you soon anyway. Mwah. Bye guys.